What is Agile? For me, there are two aspects of Agile. So there's everything which was happening in the 90s. And I think pretty much everything we call Agile these days was created in the 90s. We have extreme programming, we have Scrum, we have feature-driven development, we have the process from Tom Gilb, we have Crystal, Alistair Coburn. All of that was created in the 90s. And essentially it was an answer. And Agile has its roots in software engineering, software product development, and it has always been complex. So there was always the challenge with the unknowns we have with complexity, and they were just trying to find out what works, and basically they realized shorter development cycles, more frequent inspection, adaptations, more collaboration with the customer, more focus on good engineering practices and technical excellence. And this is basically what we all can find in extreme programming, in Scrum. All of these elements are there. So it was born out of necessity, I would say. And the interesting thing is, even though Agile has its roots in software engineering, and if you look at the Agile Manifesto from 2001, February 2001, that's when the people who had invented all those processes got together and just said, hey guys, we don't work identical. However, we have a much better track record than the industry average. So what do we have in common? And they met in the snowboard skiing resort in Utah. And then over the weekend, basically, they had created the Agile Manifesto. And if you look into the Agile Manifesto on the website, it still states software, but I would replace software these days just plainly with product, because Agile has left software engineering a long time ago. And it states basically individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So how people work together, how they help each other, all of these things is more important than processes and tools. However, we still have processes and tools, but our preference is on the people and individuals. Working product over comprehensive documentation. I can document anything, but can I make it work? Can I really implement it? Will it be successful? That's the challenge. So working product is the only real measure, honest measure of progress. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. If you think about so many project management methods we have still in place, are about minimizing variation. And why do we want to minimize variation? Because the changes make our lives hard. Now, instead of, and Agile has this mantra about embrace change. You know, if somebody says, oh, well, you know what, I just realized I don't need that, I want that. That's great. That they learned something, they just changed their mind. So let's sit together and collaborate. Okay, you want this instead of that, or what can we do? Let's figure out what makes the most common sense. And based on that, essentially, that leads to responding to change over following a plan, the fourth value of the Agile Manifesto. So pretty much everything, again, what we have these days and what we call Agile was actually born in the 90s. What also happened in the 90s was globalization. Now, you could get something done really cheap in a different country. And now suddenly people realize the way how we work is probably getting more important than just what we do, because more things became standard commodities. And there's a good book from Dove, and it's called How, where he basically talks about all of those events happening in the 90s as well. And then there's the other aspect about what I think about Agile as well. And for me, it's a mindset. You know, if you, and I think this is where most organizations really struggle with, is that to really embrace that mindset of agile, agility, what it means, not agile as a noun, but as a verb, being agile. Because you think different, you behave different. And in every training I see it, so many people are the first day they struggle it. There's this inner resistance in their brain somehow about really opening up for that. And at some point it makes it click, and they open up, and then they see suddenly the world through different eyes. But then even then, you know, it's just this one moment. How can you really make it stick, become part of your nature, the way you behave? And that's the mindset for me. So basically, if you have an agile mindset, you just do the things automatically. You don't have to think about it anymore. You follow by heart the Agile Manifesto. Now, if you take a mindset onto an organizational level, that's the organizational culture. So essentially what it means is that if you want to make your organization more agile, you have to change the underlying culture. And that's a huge challenge. So why is Agile so popular? And it's really interesting if you think about it. I mean, Agile has been now around for over 30 years or something like that. I mean, it has its roots in the new product development white paper from Takeuchi Nonaka from '86, which inspired Ken and Jeff to create Scrum. But everything we call Agile these days was created in the '90s. Extreme programming, Scrum, Crystal, and so on. And it's still around. Sure, Agile has matured, it has changed here and there, but overall, the core values of it, which we have in the Agile Manifesto, are still there, and they're basically revisited every 5 years and adjusted. No change required. It's still very applicable, and this is, I really find that fascinating, because in those 30 odd years, we had so many other things appear and disappear. Well, this is the new thing about this, let's do that. And then the whole industry jumped on that, but it didn't really show the benefits people were looking for. And I think the cause for that is because everything else we had was more like a method, telling you this is how you do it, this is how you behave in certain situations, and everything will be fine. And it might have worked in certain situations, but not in the bigger context. Now, Agile is more a mindset than a handbook or a process guide. It just tells you in certain situations, this is the mindset we prefer. This is the mental attitude we want to see. And if you apply that consequently correctly, good things should happen. And good things do happen if you do that. It's not easy, and it's a challenge again and again, but overall, companies who really embrace that, they see the fruits of their hard labor, but also of sticking to the right principles.